Raiders fans, Sunday at Allegiant is going to be a nail-biter. The defense is coming off a bruising game, and now they are facing a new and unpredictable quarterback. On offense, a new strategy is being built right now. But how does this team adjust without a key piece? Somebody's going to have to step up in a huge way. The staff is tweaking the play calling. And finally, an off-season decision shows up that could save the pride of the silver and black. Stick with me because the last one hits hard. But before we crack open every detail of this rundown, real quick, subscribe to the channel. It is free and it helps us a ton around here. Hit the like button too. That tells YouTube to push the next video to you, and jump into the debate. Drop a comment with the score you expect in the next game. Let's go. There is one thing that has me hyped and worried at the same time. The Raiders' defense is going to be tested again against the Giants at home on Sunday. Last week was one of their best performances of the year. They held the Texans to 270 total yards and just 4.4 yards per play. It was one of those rare days where the whole team looked like it was speaking the same language. But you cannot live off the highlight reel. You have to bring that same edge again. And this time, turn it into a win. Here is the problem. The Raiders are heading into this one without Brock Bowers on offense. That changes how the opponent calls the game. But the defense has a rough hole too. Safety Jeremy Chin landed on injured reserve. And man, he has been one of the steadiest guys on that side of the ball. That messes with communication. It messes with tackling angles. It messes with help over the top. In the NFL, that kind of detail turns into a touchdown fast. On the other side, you have rookie Jackson Dart. And I am not treating this like, oh, he is a rookie, we are fine. Patrick Graham talked about him with real respect. And I get why. Dart has an arm. But what is scary is when the play breaks down. He gets out of the pocket, he extends the play, and he will launch it down the field. He will also run to steal yards on first down. That kind of quarterback makes a defense look slow. All it takes is contained slipping for 1 second. And there is more. When your defense is shorthanded, the offense starts poking at you. You will see motion. You will see formation shifts. You will see read option. Their idea is simple. Force your second level to choose wrong, and it is over. So I want to see firm tackles in space. No almost, no shoulder and hug stuff. Put them down, then get up. To be honest with you, the key is discipline. It is not just hit hard, set the edge, keep your eyes right. Do not bite on play action early. And without Chin, somebody has to take charge of organizing the back end. I want to see who calls the checks. I want to see who gets everyone lined up. I want to see who is yelling when the Giants start throwing those crossers through the middle. I also want to see pressure. When the pass rush gets home with 4, the secondary can breathe. When it does not, Dart turns into that comfortable distributor, just like Graham warned, and a quarterback getting comfortable against us. No thanks. I get a little nervous just thinking about it, I swear. So let me throw it to you. What is your bigger worry in this matchup? Chin being out back there or Dart escaping and extending plays? Talk to me in the comments, for real. Because this is our conversation, straight from the stands, for who lives and breathes Raiders football and wears the silver and black. Now, hold on. Because if the offense is already without Bowers, the next story is about how this scheme is going to have to change the hard way. All right, let's talk offense, because this one is straight to the point. Without Brock Bowers for the last 2 games, the whole look of this offense changes instantly. And it is not a small change. It changes how the opposing defense covers you. It changes the rhythm of the play calls. It even changes a quarterback's confidence when a play breaks down. Bowers was the most reliable target. The guy was gutting it out with that knee, and even so, he became the main lifeline for this team. Now he is on injured reserve, and that is that. And he still came out of it with an AFC Pro Bowl nod. That tells you everything. Now the weight lands on Geno Smith and play caller Greg Olsen. Geno has to speed up his reads, because without that tight end who wins separation over the middle, the short pass game becomes more tight window than open space. And in the NFL, that window is razor thin. That is how you get picked if you are late by half a second. The natural move is more Michael Mayer. He is not a copy of Bowers, obviously, but he can block, he can run more traditional routes, and he can be a factor off play action. The problem is the defense knows that too, so I want to see creativity that keeps Mayer from becoming predictable. More motion, more misdirection, more heavy looks. And then, out of nowhere, he slips into the flat. Simple stuff that works. And then you have the guy who could become the game's thermostat, Ashton Jeanty. Last game, the run game finally showed up, and when the run game shows up, everything breathes. The offensive line stops playing in panic mode. The quarterback stops living in third and long. The The playbook opens up. Ginty should get more carries, more touches, and honestly, I want that. A hungry rookie runner brings the kind of energy that spreads, but there is a detail people ignore. Running the ball well is not just give it to him 20 times, it is rhythm, it is sequence. It is not abandoning it because one play got stuffed. It is sticking with it until the defense gets tired of getting hit. If the Raiders mix a good run with 3 rushed throws right after, it does not matter. The game turns into a lottery. Let me be crystal clear. Without Bowers, this offense needs a pillar on every drive. Maybe that is Ginty on the ground. Maybe that is Mayer on third down. Maybe it is a wide receiver popping on quick routes. But you need somebody to keep the chains moving. Otherwise, it is just hope. And I have one real curiosity. How is Olsen going to spread these targets around? More screens, more checkdowns? Does he split Ginty out wide to hunt a linebacker? Because if you do that right, you can steal easy yardage. If you do it wrong, it becomes 3 and out after 3 and out. And then the defense is back out there gassed. So that is the deal. Without Brock Bowers, the Raiders have to find an identity fast, even if it is ugly, even if it is smash mouth. And the next story is about a name that shakes all of this up, because there is big market chatter that has the whole league looking at the silver and black. Okay, now buckle up, because this is the kind of talk that sets off alarms across the NFL. There is noise that Lamar Jackson could become a trade topic. Yes, Lamar. And of course, when a name like that hits the rumor mill, the Raiders are in the conversation immediately, even if it is just behind-the-scenes chatter. What is floating around is that people in Baltimore are frustrated with the full package, not just what he does on Sundays. Journalist Mike Preston of the Baltimore Sun dropped some harsh shots about routine and professionalism. He mentioned things like being up late playing video games and even dozing off in meetings. And here is the part that looks terrible when it feels like there are rules for everyone and special rules for the star quarterback. That splits a locker room, that wears out a coaching staff, and then you start seeing those forced smiles at press conferences, and you already know they are hiding something. On the field, nobody questions the talent. Lamar is electric. He was MVP in 2023. He finished second in the race in 2024. His win record is strong, and last season he threw 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He is the kind of player who changes your ceiling the moment he puts the helmet on. And honestly, if a player like that is available, you at least make the call, even if it is just to understand the price. If you do not call, you are asleep. Then you get an interesting read from Will Brinson at CBS Sports. He said Las Vegas makes sense because the team wants to be better right now, and he floated Lamar with tight ends. In a perfect world, Lamar and Brock Bowers healthy together, that is video game stuff. But real life charges interest. And it is expensive, because it is not just go get him. There is a massive contract. There is an in-season injury history. There is this haze of discipline questions. And there is the cost in draft picks. The talk is that if the Raiders land the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, it changes the whole conversation. The math becomes, we give the top pick and we are done. But I do not buy Baltimore taking it that clean. They would probably want more, and that is where it starts to hurt. 2 first-round picks? Maybe. More than that? Then I start hesitating. Let me say it with no sugar. The question is whether the Raiders are ready to bet the future on a quarterback who makes you relevant tomorrow. Because relevance matters too, and this franchise is starving for it, and Mark Davis is in the middle of it all, and he loves a big headline. But headlines do not win games by themselves, and the AFC West does not forgive sloppy planning. To me, this splits the fan base right down the middle. Some people will say, bring him in, it is Lamar, end of story. Others will say, do not touch the draft, build it the right way, enough shortcuts. And I want the temperature on this. Which side are you on? Give me your take, your way, no filter, because this is straight stands talk. And look, there is a fan read you will not get from a generic sports site. Here, we talk about the shield, the risk, and the pride. And the next story ties this to what is happening with play calling right now, because one name has been impacting this offense more than people realize. If there is one thing I could not stand anymore, it was watching the offense look lost, with no identity, like every drive was a blind bet. And that is why this matters. The impact of Greg Olsen calling plays after Chip Kelly left. I am not here to pretend it turned into a fireworks show. The team still lost, But man, you can feel the difference in the logic of the offense. At least now it looks like there is a plan. With Kelly, there were stretches where the offense felt like it was running into a wall. The line kept changing every week, protection kept breaking down, and the sequencing of calls did not connect. Execution was bad too, obviously. Injuries happened, guys were out of rhythm, but even with all that, you could see choices that made fans angry. It felt stubborn. It felt like, I am going to prove I am right. And that kills a locker room. When Olsen took over, the offense started doing more logical things, simple things, formations that help the quarterback, runs that are not just for show, concepts built to give quick answers. It is that feeling of, okay, I get what they were trying to do there. And in the NFL, that already puts you in the fight. And where did it show the most? In how he started using Ashton Genie. Olsen said you can split the kid out wide, you can flex him, you can hunt matchups, and last game you saw it. There were plays where Geno Smith took one look and knew where the ball was going. That is not luck. That is design creating an advantage. An advantage is what the silver and black have been starving for. But then comes the punch. Olsen himself admitted it will be harder to replicate that performance without Brock Bowers. And that is real. Bowers was the guy you call a root for and think, I can get one catch no matter what. Without him, the offense needs 2 or 3 guys to level up at the same time. And that is where the play caller earns it. He has to spread responsibility. He has to hide weaknesses. He has to find ways to make Mayer, Ginty, and the receivers feel like constant threats. I am going to be blunt. If Olsen keeps this offense even remotely functional without Bowers, that says a lot about him. Because calling plays when everything is perfect is easy. I want to see play calling with a patched up lineup. With a defense smelling blood and turning the screws, that is where you separate pretty play sheets from real game management. And fans can tell. The stands can tell when an offense is alive, even in a loss, and they can tell when it is dead before the second quarter. So for me, Sunday is a pulse test. It is the offense showing there is a path, even if it is ugly, even if it is physical, even if it is pure fight, and hold that transition because the last story flips the tone. It is about an off-season decision that actually worked in the middle of all this chaos. And when you find something that works, the question becomes, will the franchise keep it or let it walk? In the middle of a season that makes you want to turn the television off at halftime, I like hunting for one thing, at least one decision that proves the team can still get something right. And look, there is a name popping up as a real off-season win. Eric Stokes. A lot of people missed it because the team has been losing. But when you watch closely, he has been holding the line in the secondary. The piece that sparked it came from Bradley Locker at Pro Football Focus. He put Stokes among the best free agent signings, and it is not empty praise. His coverage grade has been strong. He is near the top in target per snap and catch per snap type metrics. In plain fan language, teams are trying him, and it is not easy. And that matters on a team that gets stressed in space way too often. I also think the context matters most. Stokes arrived with that label of former first-rounder who never fully popped. Then he lands in Las Vegas and starts playing like a steady, competitive corner. No extra show, just work and good work. He already has 46 tackles this season. That is a big number for the position. It is not just pretty coverage. He shows up in run support too. That is mentality I respect. Now, of course, it comes with frustration, because this win gets buried under moves that did not work, like the whole package involving Geno Smith. And that leads to the question that sticks with me. When you find a player who is producing in a brutal year, do you keep him or do you get cute? The Raiders are not swimming in recent hits, so letting a guy like this walk would feel like the same chaos we are tired of. And there is more. The secondary has not exactly made life easy for Stokes. Injuries hit. Guys were out, rotation happened, and he still held his side. He is not getting interceptions, sure, not since his rookie year, but he is breaking up passes. And that flips drives. Sometimes a game swings on 1 3rd down where you force an incompletion. That is where a defense gets air. And I keep thinking this. If the staff can get more consistent aggression up front, and if the pass rush helps, Stokes becomes even more valuable. Because a good corner with pressure in front of him becomes a nightmare for offenses. And then the silver and black start building a defensive base that actually makes sense. It does not fix everything, but it is a start. That is the vibe of this last story. In the middle of the disaster, there is a piece that looks right. And when you find a piece that looks right, the conversation stops being only who is coming next year. It becomes, who can we not lose? Because rebuilding without keeping your few wins is a never-ending punishment. And with that, I want to pull the final reflection together. defense, offense without Bowers, play calling, and even this market talk that shakes the team. Because the way it looks right now, every decision from here on out weighs double. I'm going to tell you something that hits different today. The defense showed it still has pride. Even missing a piece like Jeremy Chin, the offense has to reinvent itself without Brock Bowers. And that is going to expose who can really handle the heat. The Lamar Jackson talk is tempting, but it is also a bet that can swing this franchise toward a breakthrough or a headache. And in the middle of the chaos, Eric Stokes looks like that rare win you cannot let slip away. Bold take? Fine. But I think the Raiders are at a point where stopping the mistakes matters as much as landing a big win. Because with 2 or 3 right moves, this team stops being a punchline and becomes a problem again. Drop a comment. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Raiders football.